In a move meant to solve the housing crisis, the governor of Hawaii is thinking about forcing Airbnb hosts to convert their units over to long term rentals. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of a state I don't cover very often, and that's Hawaii. Now, the reason I don't cover Hawaii very often is because, it's not part of the continental United States, and I don't really hear a lot about it other than it's a very left leaning progressive place where they have a lot of anti landlord laws in place. So it's pretty similar to California, in my opinion, right? And, the people there, that's what they want. I don't really think about the place much because of that. And but I heard this article and it was quite interesting. Okay, so the governor of Hawaii, after the huge fire wiped out the town there in Hawaii, the governor of Hawaii says, "Hey, we have too many short-term rentals, and we have all these people who need housing. So what do we do? What do we do?" And so originally they were talking about incentivizing the short-term rental hosts to convert their units over to long-term rental so these people would have housing. But now, if not enough people participate, the governor is talking about perhaps forcing them to convert their units over to long-term rentals. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Here we are, we're talking about property rights. Yes, they have a housing shortage there, but there has to be a better solution, okay? And there has to be protections put into place to make sure that landlords and property owners don't lose their rights, okay? And that is exactly what they're talking about here. Basically, you'd be taking a person's property, right, for, taking private property for public use without just compensation. And you know what I'm talking about right there. That's a constitutional violation. And since that is unconstitutional, that means that they'd be just trouncing all over our property rights. And so, I hope it doesn't come to that, but that's what they are hinting at doing. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. What do you think of the government forcing short-term rental owners to rent their units out as long-term rentals? And keep in mind they have a housing crisis going on in the state right now. They already had a shortage of housing within the state, but it was exacerbated by the huge fires there on Maui. Okay, and the fire wiped out the homes of thousands of people, and those people, they need new housing. So what do you do? It's going to take years before the new housing is built. So I'm not of the opinion that they should force property owners to do what they want, turn their housing into government housing essentially, right? But my opinion is do just like FEMA did for the hurricane in Louisiana. Throw a whole bunch of trailers out there on some empty land, because guess what? These people, they might need housing immediately, and that might be the best option right there. But anyway, let's get into this article. It goes into a bit more details about exactly what's going on in Hawaii. This article is coming from the WashingtonExaminer.com, and it says Governor Josh Green threatens to bring down the hammer on landlords in fallout from the Hawaii fire. All right, let's see what this says. Governor Josh Green has threatened to use the hammer of emergency orders to convert 3,000 temporary vacation rentals into longer-term housing for survivors displaced by the wildfire that swept across the island of Maui in August. As of Thursday, Green said that there are still 6,297 residents still living in hotels more than 4 months after the wildfire killed at least 97 people, the deadliest U.S. wildfire in over a century. There are currently a minimum of 12,000 units legally rented on a short-term basis in Maui. Green estimates that there could be nearly as 25,000 units available if rentals without legal permits are included in the calculations. So what this really comes down to is a money issue for the state, okay? And that's what this really comes down to, okay? They said that they have, 6,297 residents that are currently being temporarily housed in hotels until new housing can be constructed, right? But then they're like, wait a second, we have all these short-term rentals, and we could just push these people into these short-term rentals. And when I say this is a money issue, that's exactly what this is, because in their minds, if they force the Airbnb hosts the Airbnb landlords to convert their units over to long-term rentals, it will be cheaper than them renting a hotel room for these people for the next couple of years. Okay, and so they think, oh yeah, we could just force these people to house the people who are displaced, right? I think that that is a bad idea, and that's trouncing on people's property rights. It's not allowing the property owners to make as much money as they could renting those units out as short-term rentals. And regardless of what the emergency is, I don't think that any emergency justifies us suspending the Constitution of the United States. But that is exactly what the governor of Hawaii is talking about doing, and I just cannot agree with that because the question is, it's a slippery slope. Okay, the question is, what is going to constitute as an emergency next time? Yeah, it was a fire this time, a real legitimate emergency, right? But remember what happened during the pandemic with COVID-19. Okay, they were saying, oh, this pandemic is an emergency. And it turned out not being as bad of an emergency as you thought, yet it bankrupted and put in huge amount of financial distress a lot of businesses, a lot of landlords, and a lot of people. Okay, so yeah, I don't agree with them thinking they can suspend the Constitution willy nilly. Okay, that is not what the Constitution is in place for a reason. It is to ensure that no matter what, we have our rights, and that is ridiculous to think that, oh well, we have one little fire, so let's throw the Constitution out. No, screw that. There are current. Oh, I'm sorry. The devastating wildfire entirely wiped out the historic area of Lahaina, destroying roughly 2,200 buildings estimated to be worth more than $5 billion. Approximately 86% of the structures destroyed were residential buildings. According to Green, a combination of county tax benefits and rent subsidies offered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency should incentivize landlords to comply with the request. And he's right. The subsidies, the benefits provided by the government are going to convince some people to want to participate in the program. Now, is it going to be enough? I don't know. I don't know. But you get as many people as you can who voluntarily participate for those benefits, right? And then the rest of the people might have to be housed in hotels or whatever until the permanent housing is put back into place. Okay, that is just what has to be done. We cannot just take people's property. That is wrong. Okay. On Monday, FEMA sent letters to short term rental operators across the island, offering to pay them the same rent level that they earned last year for their units. The agency offered to pay for the rent for approximately 2,000 families, while the state of Hawaii and private philanthropists will cover the remaining 1,000 who do not qualify for federal aid. So there is no reason at all for people not to take this opportunity, provided they want to be a helpful part of the solution, Green said. Green intends for the measures to last 2 years, enough time for more permanent housing solutions to be built on Maui. Although the governor has not yet released an estimate as to how much the plan will cost the state of Hawaii, the details are anticipated in a new budget proposal to be released Monday. So, yeah, they say that FEMA is going to pay people the amount that they would have earned had they continued to rent out their units as short-term rentals. But keeping that in mind, there are still people who say, hey, I do not want to participate in that program, right? And I've mentioned why in a couple of different videos that I've created before. One of them being the whole personal use thing, right? Not every short term rental is specifically being, like a business where, oh, yeah, I am only renting this place out in order to make money. Some of the people who own short term rentals are using it for their personal use as well. And when they are not personally using it, that is when they rent it out. So there might be a time when you say, okay, I spend 2 months a year in Hawaii, and or maybe I spend the winter in Hawaii, right? I'm a person. I live in Nebraska, right? And so every November I'm go down to Hawaii. I sit down there until March, and then the rest of the year I rent the place out as a short term rental, right? I'm a what do they call that? What are the older people who do that? I can't remember what the term is right now, but so but if you rent that place out long term to these people, Well, you can't even go there for the winter anymore, because those people will be in there. So you would lose your personal use of the property. And I know there's a lot of people in Hawaii who do this sort of thing, okay? And regardless of, whether people think that's right or wrong, considering that people need housing, I don't see any problem with it because it is your property. You have a right to use it how you see fit, and the government should never, and I mean never, try to force somebody to rent a property out long term when they don't want to do that. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to have difficulty trying to force people to do this. And I think it's a constitutional violation personally. So I'll put a link to this article in the description down below. And in the comments, put down what you think of this whole situation.